Good afternoon, Miss and fellow classmates. We are Team 2. I am Nas, and my groupmates are Daniel, Sharika, Jonita, and lastly, Logan. Our topic is about gaming multiverse. Our topic specifically on the problem that arise from anonymity and customization in VR games. So, for my part, I will show you the result from the responses that we get. There are 159 responses, age range between 18 to 43 years old, majority are from 18 to 22 years old. And as for nationality, nationality is more or less equal. For non-Malaysian, 49.4%, as for Malaysian, 50.6%. And allowance and income, we made it the range between RM 1000 to above 3000 RM. But the majority has spoken, they put RM 1000 to 1500 as a range. And lastly, for the occupation, student has the highest responses, which is 80.1%, and the second one is 17.3% for the working people, and the last one or the least will be the interns, which is 4%. So that is our responses that we get so far. And I would like to give the next slide to Daniel.
Thank you, Nas. Now I'm going to talk about prior knowledge towards VR. So out of 100% of 159 people, 75.6 majority has already prior knowledge to virtual reality or VR. Uh, this shows that millennials and Gen Z they already knows the concept or knows what VR is all about. But when it comes to familiarity of VR, they are not really knows or understand about it. Only 27.5% have an awareness of what VR concept is like because maybe they already have an experience about it. And majority of 36.3% of people still doesn't really understand the concept of VR since they only know about article but they have never actually experienced about it. And a small portion of people, 13.7%, plan to actually use VR in the future. Now I'm going to talk about people who actually own VR equipment. So out of 100%, 85 majority still doesn't own a VR equipments. Only small numbers of people actually own VR equipment, which is 15%. And the reason of them not owning a VR equipment is majority stated that it is too expensive for VR since VR is relatively new and it is a complicated technology, so obviously the price is going to be more expensive than usual. And since the second reason is the content is not enough, that means the game that could be played in VR is not that much yet because since the concept is still pretty much new, so there's still not that much of game could be played in VR. That's all for my part. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to pass to D.
So virtual reality, especially in gaming, is all about being customized because they have the setting to either be anonymous or either be their real identity and their real self through a gaming version of them. And this is when the first question came in. Do they actually use the real name while playing? And the majority said no, and only a few said yes. Most of them said no because of privacy reasoning, and they feel more comfortable if they use an in-game name because that gives them an experience without the constriction of the real world. And then a lot of them said that gamers also have an impact. For example, a lot of gamers who are famous right now don't actually use their real name, such as PewDiePie, whose real name is Felix, or the controversial gamer right now, XQC. His name is also Felix, and other gamers such as Pokey, disguised toes, Saikuno, or corpse. They don't actually use their real name, and this could impact their audience as well because of that. The results did mention that this impact made them find it cooler or more acceptable if they use an in-game name rather than their real name. And for that 19%, it was mostly because of conveniency and because some game sites they need to share their real name in order to play. And for the conveniency, it's to find their real friends that they know in real life. It's for them to find them easier and for their friends to find them through online, as well as touching on the privacy issue. Most, if their name is common, they don't feel the need to change because it'll be harder for them to be tracked. The next question goes to, is it safe to have personal info made public in games? 93% said no and only 7% said yes. This relates back to the previous question on why gamers or people don't want their personal info out. In the question, we didn't mention about the account number, the bank account number, or their identity card number, or their phone number. It was mostly on their name, their age, gender, and even by that, 93% of them said no. This could be because even though some sites do mention that they are 100% secure, nothing online is actually 100% secure. So they are aware that they should be precautious about their security, and that they are ready for anything worse to happen to them, such as someone stealing their identity. The next question that we asked was about avatar resemblance and how similar was it to how they actually look like in real life. And 51% of them stated that they would rather not look like themselves and they would be a different person online. And even 20% of them use a non-humanoid avatar. Having the option to be a completely different person or to have completely different personas and personalities and customize it to how you want online gives them the option to whether be the person they want online, which is in games, or the person they are in real life and who they actually are. This could be an issue because if they feel more comfortable or they feel more powerful inside the gaming situation where they are more in the virtual reality world where everything is under their control, that could relate to escapism. But going back on the issue of having a different avatar resemblance, this could impact their mental health because they feel more comfortable with being an online persona. That will mean they aren't actually happy on who they are in real life because they feel the need to be a different person online. And lastly, have they made real friends through gaming? Out of 160 responses, 55% answered no. Although the gaming world is a globalized thing and it can be accessed to everywhere, most parts of the world, most people don't take that next step to meeting them online. This is because half of the reasons is because one, the safety and the privacy issues, because they don't trust them. They met this person online, so they don't actually know who they are. And because relating to customization and anonymity, They can be whoever they are because they themselves, they don't use their real names. So this person can actually be faking their real identity as well. Also adding to the globalization, even if they connect through gaming, it is hard for them to meet in real life because of the difference of countries, and it'll be hard and difficult for them to actually meet. So it can be said that even though it is an international thing and it is a great way to befriend a lot of people, it is hard for them to actually take that next step, and they just stay friends in the gaming environment. However, 45% of them, it isn't actually a big difference. 45% of them made friends through the game. This can be because of uh, the competitive game or the competitive leagues that is happening within their area. And one response even said that they played a lot of Dota too and met a few people online from Malaysia, that they met them in Kuala Lumpur Major in 2018. And another one, when he was playing Warfare nearby, he got involved with another teammate, a random one, and apparently that person was sitting right next to him. So that's how they connected, and now they're friends. Most of them also interacted because they have similar gaming interests, and they further developed through conversation and connection, which led to a friendship between them because it's mutual and safe, and it's through online. This would mean that they do trust people online, and that not everyone in playing games are they're being bad.
So, thank you, Dee. So, I will be taking over this part, moral and ethical dilemma. So, we asked three questions based on this topic. First is, have you been harassed or insulted in game? Next is, have you been discriminated or underestimated due to your gender? Next is, do you feel demotivated when other players are toxic? So the first one, so from the survey that we conduct for this assignment, 55 percentage of them said yes. They agree that they get insult in gaming, and the rest 45 percentage of them said no. Next, here you can see 42.5 of them said yes, and 57.5 of them voted no, they are not being discriminated. Next is for the demotivated part. Okay, 57 percentage of them agree to the question that we asked, and 43 43% of them voted no. So that's all for this part. This is the result that we get. So next I will pass it to Logan. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. So now I'll continue for the future of VR, which was the last section. And we only had two major questions to be answered in this section, which are, will VR gain popularity in the near future, that is, and will VR replace physical activity also in the near future? So these two main questions really harp back to the beginning of our survey, because right now, as you know, we're going through a new normal, and a lot of things that used to be done in a physical manner, face to face, have all been changed to a online and virtual format, right? And some people have even begun using VR in their endeavors to try and cope with the new normal. So to answer the first question, will VR gain popularity? 44.4% of our 159 respondents, which is which is almost the majority in this case, said yes. Now they believe that VR will gain popularity in the future and become somewhat of a normal thing, part of our everyday life, in fact. While this very small minority, which made up the smallest dividend of this particular question, 8.8% of our respondents said no, VR will not gain popularity. Meanwhile, the majority of respondents were not sure how to answer this question definitively, so they chose to say maybe instead. Like they're very 50-50, they're on the fence. They're saying that VR could gain popularity in the future, but it also might not. So that's the vast majority of people who answered this question. And lastly, the second question, which is, will VR be able to replace physical activity in the near future? Again, the minority, well, not again, but this time the minority, which was 15.6%, a very small number, they said yes, VR will replace physical activity, as is online being the case with replacing a lot of physical things right now during the new normal. But that's only a small percentage of them. As mentioned before, 15.6% of them think that yes, VR will eventually replace physical activity soon enough. Meanwhile, the majority this time said no, VR will not be able to replace physical activity. And that would make up 45% of our respondents. Nearly half of all the respondents agree that VR will not be able to replace physical activity because there's really no substitute for doing things physically and in person. And the majority of them have agreed to that. And meanwhile, a slightly smaller 39.4% of our respondents said that maybe VR will replace physical activity. Once again, they're 50-50, they're on the fence. They think that maybe it might replace it, maybe it won't replace it. Who's to know? It all depends on the near future. That just about sums up my part for the future of VR. And now to conclude. So this data that we found is very intriguing, mainly because there are two very different types of answers for the similar question, right? Which is, will VR gain popularity? Will it replace physical activity? They are more or less the same, these questions. But the thing is, we've worded them in a way to sort of make people think of it in a certain way. And this showed that in the first question, will it gain popularity? The majority said maybe, but then almost the same number of people, a very small number less than that, agreed that it would. But then, surprisingly, an even larger number, 45%, said that it will not be able to replace physical activity. So this is quite perplexing because a lot of them agree that VR will gain popularity, but at the same time, they all think that it won't be able to replace, well, not all, but most of them think it won't be able to replace physical activity. And the findings have been a bit inconclusive in all areas. But this is to be expected because the vast majority of all our respondents, 159 of them, were students. They made up 80% of our students. And out of that number of people we interviewed, 159 people, a very small minority, only 15%, 15% of them owned VR equipment. The rest of them did not. And even then, though many of our respondents believe that VR will be the future, none of them truly believe it could actually replace physical. They all think that there's no substitute. Well, not all, but like I said, mostly. Because 55% of the respondents agreed that they would not make friends with people they meet online in real life. They like to keep their online friends online and their real life friends in real life. They won't mix the two because they don't feel that it's safe. And even then, strangely enough, despite them feeling not safe to meet people online, 51% of our respondents said that their online avatars resemble them, which again is very perplexing. So in conclusion, what I'm trying to say this whole time is that the results were very inconclusive because they were opposing themselves in a way. But overall, we got the data we needed, and this has really shed some light on it to prove that most people don't really feel that that VR gaming will be the future. They believe that it will be quite popular, but they don't think it will be the next big thing. So that just about sums it up from me. And for the rest of Team 2, I'm Logan. Thank you very much for your time.